Strategy 1. The unbreakable boundary Carol's not here moment. Our journey to reclaiming your power begins with the most foundational act of self-respect. Drawing a line. This is about strategy number 1. A boundary that holds firm. Imagine a 74-year-old grandmother, the sweetest soul you could ever meet, who could silence an entire room and stop disrespect cold with just 2 carefully chosen words. What was her secret? So many of us hint at our boundaries, then quickly soften them, perhaps fearing we'll offend someone or disrupt the peace. Unfortunately, this often only teaches people that our limits are negotiable, that a little pushback is all it takes for us to yield. But establishing a firm boundary isn't about raising your voice or launching into lengthy justifications. True strength in this regard comes from calm, consistent clarity, and unwavering follow-through. It's about being able to say something as straightforward as, "I don't accept being spoken to that way," or, "I need you to stop interrupting me when I'm talking." That's it. Then, crucially, you must follow through. If the behavior persists, you might step away from the conversation, tactfully change the subject, or decide to limit future interactions. There's no need for arguments. Their approval is not required. All that's needed from you is consistency. The woman I mentioned, Carol, was a grandmother of 7, always the heart of family gatherings, usually found cooking. She possessed a gentle demeanor but also an unshakable rule. Absolutely no sarcasm at her dinner table. Years ago, a few relatives, perhaps thinking it was harmless fun, began making mocking jokes. Carol looked up from what she was doing, offered a gentle smile, and then stated firmly with undeniable quiet strength, "Not here." The mocking ceased instantly. It never happened again. She didn't yell. She didn't argue. She simply, yet powerfully, set the tone. By holding that line, Carol created a space where everyone understood that respect was not just hoped for, but expected. Her actions demonstrate a profound truth. Boundaries aren't about pushing people away. They are about clearly showing them how you require to be treated. And when you do that with unyielding consistency, a remarkable shift occurs. You stop waiting for respect, and you begin to attract respect. But what happens when disrespect catches you off guard? When your heart races and your voice wants to shake? Carol showed us the power of a clear line. But there's another quiet weapon you need when you're under direct fire. Next, we uncover how to meet heat with unshakable calm. Strategy 2. The eye of the storm, Leonard's calm command. While a firm boundary certainly sets the stage for respectful interactions, what about those sudden flare-ups of disrespect that can catch you entirely off guard? This brings us to our second powerful approach: maintaining a calm response even when under intense pressure. Consider Leonard, a quiet, kind-eyed man of 78. During a local community meeting, a younger, somewhat aggressive member of the group made a noticeable interruption while Leonard was speaking. Not once, but twice. Leonard didn't raise his voice. He didn't engage in an argument. Instead, he did something remarkably simple yet profoundly effective that shifted the entire energy of the room. What was his secret? Our first instinct when faced with disrespect, be it a cutting remark, a condescending tone, or being brushed aside, is often to react. We might feel our heart race, our voice tighten, or a wave of frustration build within our chest. This is entirely natural. However, this immediate emotional reaction is frequently exactly what the disrespectful person, whether consciously or unconsciously, is seeking. Disrespect often thrives on that reaction. Individuals who talk down to others are typically looking to establish dominance or provoke drama. If you snap, they win. If you over-explain, they tend to dismiss. But if you manage to stay steady, if you meet their heat with quiet control, you retain your power and shift the entire dynamic. This doesn't mean pretending the disrespect didn't sting. It simply means you breathe first. You pause. You allow that half second for the initial emotion to rise and then pass. And then you choose your response with clear intention, not from a place of anger or fear, but from a position of strength. Returning to Leonard's story, after the second interruption, he simply stopped talking. He turned, looked the younger man calmly in the eye, and said with a steady voice, "I'll continue when you're ready to listen." Then he waited. Silence descended upon the room. The younger man, caught off guard by this composed response, appeared flustered. Leonard didn't demand respect in that moment. He embodied respect. That is the true power of calm. It means you don't allow someone else's poor behavior to pull you away from your center. Over time, people learn they cannot control you by disrespecting you when you remain rooted and steady. Leonard masterfully controlled the moment. But what if calmness and clear boundaries aren't enough? What if someone repeatedly shows you disrespect, no matter what you say or do? Sometimes the most powerful statement isn't a statement at all. Up next, the art of eloquent absence. Strategy 3. The eloquent absence, Shirley's peaceful holiday. Handling disrespect in the moment, as Leonard so capably demonstrated, is a vital skill. But for those persistent patterns of disrespect, where your boundaries and calm responses are repeatedly ignored, we need a different approach. This brings us to strategy number 3, creating a distance that speaks for itself, an eloquent absence. For years, Shirley, a warm woman of 69, found herself enduring a barrage of subtle digs every time she attended family holidays with her cousin's family. These weren't overt attacks, but rather those small, cutting remarks about her life choices, her appearance, even the way she had raised her children. She would typically smile through it, maintaining a polite facade for the sake of family harmony. However, one year, Shirley decided she had simply had enough. She didn't stage a confrontation or send an angry letter. She simply vanished from the gathering. The impact of this quiet decision was, in many ways, more powerful than any heated argument could have ever been. The question often arises, what do you do when someone repeatedly ignores your boundaries and your calm responses? Do you keep trying harder, hoping they'll eventually understand? Sometimes, the most respectful thing you can do for yourself isn't to say more, but to step back. You don't owe anyone unlimited access to your time, your presence, or your energy, especially if they consistently take it for granted or treat you poorly. Stepping back, not in anger or bitterness, but with quiet clarity, speaks volumes. It silently communicates, I notice how I am treated. I care about myself enough to step away from this dynamic, and I don't need to explain that decision to you. As Shirley herself recounted, I just stopped going. I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I made other plans. That year, she told me, was the year she finally felt a profound sense of peace during the holiday season. Her absence was a loud statement. Interestingly, some of those relatives later reached out, not to argue or demand her presence, but to reconnect, this time with a newfound measure of respect. Not everyone will change, of course, and some may not understand. But the lesson here is that protecting energy is not rude. It's an act of responsible self-respect. Especially as your time becomes more precious, and your peace more valuable, your choices about who to engage with should reflect that deep knowing of your own worth. Your peace is paramount. Shirley's silence was deafening. But what if stepping away completely isn't immediately possible, or you need to address a direct affront concisely? There's a way to make your point without getting drawn into their drama. Coming up, the power of saying less to mean more. Strategy 4. The crystal clear statement heralds final word. Stepping back, as Shirley's experience showed, sends a clear and powerful message without a single word being uttered. But when you must speak, especially in the face of a direct affront, what is the most potent and effective way to make your point without getting drawn into unnecessary drama? This brings us to strategy number 4, employing a statement that is remarkably brief and unmistakably direct. Consider Harold, a man of 82, who had endured a difficult friendship for many years. His default response to his friend's recurring snide comment or cross line was over-explaining. He would patiently try to make his friend understand why the behavior was hurtful, justifying his own feelings, and appealing to the friend's sense of decency, always hoping for a change that never materialized. Then, one day, after yet another disrespectful remark, Harold chose a different path. He uttered just 7 words, 7 simple words that brought an end to the disrespect for good, even though, in this particular case, it also signaled the end of that long-standing friendship. What were those powerful words? When we are disrespected, one of the most common traps we fall into is this pattern of over-explaining. We launch into justifications for our feelings, provide lengthy background information, and earnestly try to make the other person see the error of their ways. While this often comes from a good place, a desire for understanding and reconciliation, it frequently achieves the opposite of what we hope. It inadvertently hands control of the conversation to the other person, gives them room to twist our words, and, worst of all, can signal that we are somehow seeking their permission to be respected. The truth is, you don't need anyone's permission to be treated with dignity. You don't need to explain your self-worth. You simply need to make your boundaries known. And the best way to do that is often with short, clear statements that leave no room for misinterpretation. Phrases like, "I'm not okay with that," or "that doesn't work for me," or even, "let's talk when we can both be respectful," are simple yet incredibly powerful. They don't invite debate or spiral into protracted discussions. They draw a line with clarity. For years, Harold had tried the path of lengthy explanations. But on that pivotal day, he simply looked at his friend and said, "You're not talking to me that way anymore." And then he walked away. The friendship did end soon after, but Harold later shared that he felt more respected in that single moment of clear, brief statement than he had in the preceding 20 years. It isn't about being cold. It's about being unmistakably clear. When you speak with such clarity, people learn that you are not someone who will engage in an argument about your own worth. You already know it, and you are no longer interested in convincing anyone else. Short, steady words often echo far louder and with greater impact than 1,000 explanations. Harold found his voice, clear and strong. These individual strategies are potent, but their power is magnified by one final, overarching principle. What if the key to deflecting disrespect lies not just in your reactions, but in the very atmosphere you cultivate around you? Our final strategy reveals how to build a fortress of respect. Strategy 5. The reflective circle, Teresa's uplifting connection. Asserting yourself with clarity, as Harold did, is undeniably key. But the ground you stand on, the very atmosphere you inhabit, matters immensely. This brings us to our crucial 5th strategy. Consciously curating a social circle that reflects value back to you. Consider Teresa, a vibrant woman of 77. For much of her life, she felt as though she had to constantly work, even struggle, for every scrap of respect she received, whether from family, friends, or even within her church group. Then, she made a seemingly small decision. She joined a local senior walking club, and as she described it, everything changed. How did a group of relative strangers manage to give her what years of trying in other circles hadn't? The truth is, constantly being around people who interrupt you, dismiss your ideas, or treat your inherent kindness as a weakness has a corrosive effect. It seeps into your bones, making you second-guess your own voice. You might find yourself shrinking a little, often without even consciously realizing it, as disrespect becomes a normalized part of your interactions. But the opposite is also profoundly true. When you intentionally spend more time with people who genuinely respect you, who listen attentively when you speak, who ask how you are doing and actually wait to hear the answer, you grow. You find yourself standing a little taller, speaking with more ease and confidence. Naturally, disrespect from others becomes much easier to recognize and, importantly, much harder to tolerate because you now have a clear benchmark for what a healthy connection feels like. You feel uplifted. It doesn't necessarily require a massive overhaul of your entire social life overnight. You don't need to cut everyone out or find an entirely new group of friends instantly. But you do need to pay close attention. Who are the people around whom you feel genuinely uplifted? Who makes you feel seen and heard, even in moments of comfortable silence? Those are the individuals who show you what healthy, respectful connection truly feels like. In her walking club, Teresa found people who didn't care what car she drove or what she used to do for work. They just liked having me there, she shared, a note of quiet joy in her voice. That one small circle, where she was celebrated simply for being herself, changed everything. Suddenly, she had a reference point for genuine acceptance. This newfound confidence made it easier for her to speak up and assert herself in those other spaces that didn't always afford her the same level of respect. The lesson here is that you don't chase respect. You cultivate respect, first within yourself and then by choosing the company you keep. When others observe you holding yourself with dignity and spending your time with those who do the same, It sends a powerful, unspoken message. I don't settle. I know my value, and I choose to be around people who recognize it, too. The people in your life don't have to be perfect, but they absolutely should make you feel safe and valued. You are always allowed to choose better. Teresa built a circle that mirrored her worth, and in doing so, she taught the world how to treat her. These 5 strategies are more than just tactics. They are declarations of self. But what if you're looking back, wishing you'd known this sooner? The most important moment for change is not in the past, but right now. Your time is now. Stand taller, speak clearer, live respected. These 5 paths, from Carol's firm line to Teresa's supportive circle, aren't just isolated tactics. They are threads in a larger tapestry of self-respect. So what does this all mean for you starting today? Perhaps, in reading these stories, you've recognized moments in your own life. Times you stayed quiet when you yearned to speak up, instances where you gave too many chances, or periods you spent merely hoping for a change in how others treated you. It's important to understand that this wasn't weakness. It was hope, a very human quality. But at some point, hope must transform into action. The power of staying calm under pressure, the unwavering strength of an unshakable boundary, the profound wisdom in choosing to walk away, the sharp clarity of a direct statement, and the nurturing support of a consciously chosen circle. These are now your tools. Each one of these strategies is more than a tactic. It's a declaration of your intrinsic self-worth. It's a quiet, firm way of saying to the world, and more importantly, to yourself, I matter, and I will no longer make myself small to fit into places where I am not genuinely respected. If a thought surfaces, I wish I'd known all this sooner, gently release it. Remember, the best, most potent time to speak up for yourself, to claim your space, is now. Not yesterday, not last year, but today. You are not too old to set a new boundary. You are not too late to cultivate a more supportive circle. You are right on time to stand taller, speak with greater clarity, and cease explaining your worth to individuals who were never truly listening in the first place. Respect isn't something that is simply given freely. It is taught through your consistency, through your clarity, and through the very way you carry yourself, even when no one is watching. Every day you choose to show up for yourself, every time you speak calmly, step back with dignity, or choose peace over chaos, you are teaching others how to treat you without uttering a single extra word. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be loud. You just have to believe you're worth more than mere crumbs of kindness and then act in accordance with that belief over and over again. Which of these powerful declarations will you make today?